If you've clicked on this video, it's probably because you already suspect that reality doesn't operate the way it appears or the way we were programmed to believe. You've seen patterns, déjà vus, feedback loops, synchronicities, and you've wondered whether there's something supernatural running the show. In today's video, I will explain everything you need to know about how the system you're moving through actually responds to your input, because it does. Reality bending isn't a theory, and if you don't understand how that works, your experience will always feel random, resistant, void, or worse, out of your hands. That ends here. Every part of your reality, from the way events unfold to the people who show up, is constructed through the energy you emit. The universe uses that as raw material or the input. Your experience is not being controlled from somewhere external. It's being built live, based on the energy and mental patterns you've reinforced over time. Once you understand that your brain isn't passively receiving reality, but formatting it, you will stop reacting to the environment as fixed. You will stop repeating habits that no longer match what you want. What you see, what you interpret, and what shows up next, all of it depends on the input you're giving to the universe now. And the first step to gaining control over what your internal system sends out to the universe is understanding each of the following principles. 1. Reality isn't real, it's rendered. Everything you see, hear, and interpret as real is the final product of an internal compilation process. Light waves hit your eyes, sound vibrations hit your ears, but what you experience is not the raw data, it's the rendering. Your brain applies rules, filters, and expectations to create a stable, predictable output. That output is what you call your life. The critical point here is this: perception is not a mirror, it's an editor. And like any editor, it applies previous files, assumptions, and formatting templates every time it creates the next frame. This is why most people experience the same patterns repeatedly. Their filter, the system that interprets the stream, is stuck on old parameters. If your perception is programmed to expect delay, struggle, or contradiction, it will continue to organize reality around those instructions. Nothing is showing up by default. Every experience is being shaped by a predictive model that you are constantly feeding. To bend reality, you don't fight the code, you change the filter. You remove the assumption, update the structure, and reality re-renders on its next loop. The laws haven't changed. Only the lens through which they operate has changed. 2. You're not a person. You're a frequency generator. The you that moves through daily life, thinking, feeling, speaking, is a radio tower. Every thought you hold, every emotion you generate, every word you speak forms a continuous broadcast. You are not waiting for reality to respond arbitrarily. You are instructing it with a signal. That signal is measured not by what you hope for once or twice, but by what you emit consistently, across mood, tone, energy, and pattern. You are not shaping your life with effort. You are tuning it, calibrating it, broadcasting into a system that mirrors your inner code. Reality only sends back what matches your dominant signal. Not your momentary intentions, not your passing moods, but your most stable internal setting. That dominant frequency forms a kind of gravitational pull that informs what people show up, what events converge, what outcomes are likely. You do not have to beg for alignment. You stabilize it. When your system repeats the same tone, the field no longer questions what to reflect. It confirms it, not because it wants to, but because it has no other input to work with. 3. The subconscious is the architect. Every instruction you send into the field passes through a filter, and that filter is your subconscious system. It organizes what becomes stable and what dissolves. When an idea enters your awareness, it does not automatically become a structural input. Only when that idea is accepted as internally consistent, emotionally recognized, and behaviorally reinforced, does it begin shaping what surrounds you. The subconscious is not passive. It functions as a set of fixed architectural commands, compiling every dominant association you've stored through repetition, emotion, and pattern. If those commands align with the idea, reality responds quickly. If they diverge, the instruction is either delayed or ignored. This is why conscious intention alone changes very little. The instructions must reach the layer that actually assembles reality in sequence, the part of your system that builds continuity without questioning it. Thought becomes physical only when it crosses that threshold and enters as a rule, not as a suggestion. Each repetition, each emotionally intense event, and each daily behavior reinforces the blueprint that the subconscious accepts as default. Updating that blueprint is not symbolic, it's structural. Once the default is rewritten, the surrounding field receives a new instruction to execute. 4. Emotions equal sign force codes. Each emotional charge you hold carries frequency, density, and duration, the three variables that determine how fast information moves through the field. Desire creates the direction of flow, but emotion supplies the kinetic push that delivers the command into form. When an instruction is paired with high emotional intensity, it accelerates through the system. It becomes heavier, more concentrated, more difficult for reality to ignore. The instruction begins to generate micro-adjustments in perception, posture, language, and interaction, creating a ripple that builds with momentum until it stabilizes into outcome. This process does not operate on abstract hope. It functions on concentration. Emotion, in this context, is a form of gravitational pressure, a field that pulls results into visibility by organizing space, timing, and coherence around the signal. The more often this signal is reinforced through aligned thought and clear language, the more powerful the convergence becomes. You're not trying to force anything into existence. You're concentrating the field around a set of conditions until that version begins to hold. When the emotional field is stable, consistent, and fully aligned with the instruction, the shift becomes automatic. 5. The field responds to identity. You're not trying to get rich, you're trying to become someone reality rewards with wealth. The external shift never precedes the internal structure. Every field you interact with, from finance to relationships, scans for coherence. If your identity still clings to lack, hesitation, or low worth, the field will treat you as someone incompatible with abundance. This isn't about effort or timing. It's about resonance. Wealth doesn't attach to people who want it. It flows through those who already reflect its logic. Internal misalignment always leaks into the broadcast, and when that leak is active, opportunities bypass you without explanation. Upgrade the self-image, or stay trapped in poverty scripts. The beliefs and emotional blueprints stored in your nervous system dictate how much reality is allowed to give you. A poor self-concept doesn't just slow things down, it creates a ceiling. That ceiling stays in place until your subconscious accepts a new identity as baseline. This shift is not mental affirmation, it's structural reconfiguration. You begin to see yourself as a point of command, not a recipient of chance. Until that's real, no external reward will be stable, because the signal behind it is fractured. 6. Action locks the frequency. Thoughts are the signal, emotion is the charge, but action is the command that forces the render. This triad is not symbolic, it's mechanical. A frequency left unanchored never reaches materiality. It circles the field, gets distorted by doubt, and eventually dissolves into static. Action acts as the final upload, the push that stamps your signal into the layer we call physical. Without it, your field remains theoretical. Movement isn't just important, it's decisive. Each step you take under a chosen frequency embeds that vibration deeper into the quantum structure. No action, no upload. Reality cannot lock into a version of you that exists only in intention. Physical steps aren't about chasing outcomes. They're about stabilizing identity. When your behavior matches the emotional and mental pattern you've selected, the system treats it as a confirmed request. That's when acceleration begins. Action makes your new identity real to the system, not because it proves worth, but because it proves consistency. Until your frequency is expressed behaviorally, it remains a suggestion, and suggestions don't bend timelines. 7. Your environment is an echo, not a rule. Everything around you is a delayed mirror of your past energy. You are not living in the present. You are living in the after-image of prior frequency states, emotional loops, mental scripts, unchallenged assumptions. This is why what you see now cannot be used as evidence of what's possible. The environment you're in is not the source of truth. It is the residue of old signals. Trying to shape your current belief based on that feedback is like trying to change a shadow without moving the object. It is not the law. Change your signal now, and the echo will bend violently in weeks. That's not optimism. That's mechanics. The field updates in real time, but the render has a delay. When your frequency changes, the new inputs begin formatting the next frame. You will always see a lag, but it's not a block, it's just buffer time. Do not wait for confirmation before aligning. Do not expect the reflection to shift without altering the broadcast. When the current becomes stable, strong, and repeated, the surrounding world has no option but to adjust to the new signal conditions. That's not belief, that's structure. 8. Resistance comes from timeline overlap. Every time you choose a new identity, the field around you doesn't go silent. It reacts. Not because you did something wrong, but because your shift causes interference. When you shift identity, your old timeline fights back. That old signal, reinforced by years of thought patterns, emotional signatures, and familiar limitations, doesn't disappear quietly. It resurfaces as noise, sudden chaos, disrupted routines, unexpected doubts. These aren't warnings, they're leftover programs. Every timeline you've ever embodied carries its own momentum. When you leave one, the pullback isn't punishment, it's recalibration friction. That friction can look like setbacks, confusion, even a spike in what people call bad luck. But it's not failure. It's friction from entering a new frequency lane. What you're feeling is not a sign to turn back. It's evidence that the switch is real. The confusion, the noise, the tests that weren't there before. That's the residue of the old track trying to reclaim you. The only job is to hold the new signal long enough for the overlap to dissolve. The field cannot sustain conflict for long. If the new frequency remains consistent, the resistance fades, because the previous loop loses charge and collapses. 9. Letting go is code for I already have it. Reality doesn't respond to effort, it responds to posture. Most people think surrender means giving up, but in this system it means confirmation. Clinging equals sign lack. Every time you grasp for the result, refresh the evidence or beg the signal to show up, you're instructing the field to delay. Why? Because you're showing the system that you don't believe the input was registered. That is not trust, it's feedback instability. Certainty requires silence. It moves, commands, and leaves no open loop. The moment you release the emotional grip, the transmission becomes stable. That's the difference between a signal and a glitch. Commanding and moving on equal sign cosmic authority. In this language, the universe doesn't follow requests, it obeys certainty. Desperation scrambles the broadcast. Confidence encodes it. When you let go, you're not being passive. You're issuing a closed statement that cannot be edited. The field treats it as a final render instruction. Movement without hesitation is the final mark of trust. Those who act from assumption instead of hunger create faster loops, not by magic, but by removing drag. Reality doesn't reward want, it rewards settled direction. 10. Doubt is the default virus. Kill it daily. No one enters this system fully ready. There is no day when the logic is perfect, the evidence complete, or the fears gone. The nervous system doesn't rewire on theories, it rewires on proof. And that proof only arrives after movement. You will never feel ready. That's not a flaw in your mindset, it's the baseline setting of a system built for survival, not expansion. This is why most people stay stuck in loops. They wait for clarity, safety, or external confirmation before taking action. But expansion doesn't come with guarantees. It comes with risk, and risk triggers the defense layer. You'll never be 100% sure. But the ones who bend reality are the ones who move anyway. This isn't courage, it's structure. Each time you bypass doubt and take a clean action aligned with your chosen frequency, the system upgrades its response. That's how the loop bends. Doubt will appear every morning like a software reset. It must be manually overridden, not through motivation but through pattern break. If you treat hesitation like truth, it becomes one. But if you treat it like static, it dissolves. Reality only confirms the signal that outlasts the noise. If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video.